to the Just Make It Pretty podcast. Today, our topic is about authenticity in sales and marketing. And I have Beth Byrd from Anewgo here to talk to us about this topic. And I'm really excited because this is something that's really close to my heart as well. So let's jump right in. Welcome to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, the slightly unhinged marketing podcast for home builders and beyond. I'm your host, Sarah Haynes, also known as the Pixel Wizard, and my goal is to tackle the tough stuff that goes in behind the scenes in marketing and offer actionable tips, creative insights, and a little bit of humor to spark some creativity. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get started. As I said, Beth Byrd is the VP of Sales over at Anewgo. I am so thrilled to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Oh, thanks for having me, Sarah. I'm so excited about our conversation.
It's going to be really good. And I feel, a lot of people talk about this and there's a lot of, it's like the buzzword, be authentic, but I really enjoy having conversations with people that actually have like experience and have shown this. And I feel like you do that really well. So I'm excited to hear your story and to have this convo.
Thank you.
So to get us started, let's start with kind of your self-introduction. Tell us, how did you get to your role at Anewgo and just a little bit of your background?
Okay, so let's see. Long story, really short. My original plan was to go into design. I studied at design school. I was out working as actually selling flooring, countertops, window coverings, and I was so busy that I quit school, never got my degree, and I actually never regretted that. That led me through a series of different roles and eventually stumbled on the home building industry. I had a friend who was a designer who said, "Hey, you need to go talk to this builder. They need someone who can design their houses and sell them because they're a small builder." Took that role in 2013, and I was there at Beacon Homes in Oklahoma for 11 years. Grew the company quite a bit, so it was just me doing sales, marketing, design, and cleaning lady and all the things originally. But by the time I left, I was managing a team of about 10 people and overseeing the sales, marketing, and design. And I had grown to a point in the company that I loved the team. I loved what I was doing, but I was ready for the next thing. And I didn't quite know what it was. I thought maybe I wanted to do training, but the traveling life of a trainer just didn't fit my mom life and where my life at home is right now. And that was it wasn't a good fit for me. And so I thought, I guess I'm just going to stay here at Beacon for a while. And then my friend Sarah Williams called and told me that she was moving on to a great opportunity. And I said, "Sarah, do you think I'd be good at that job? Should I call John Lee and talk to him about it?" She said, "Yes, absolutely." I never imagined that I would work really for a software or tech company. And yet it's been the perfect blend of the sales, marketing, and design, the design piece, that tying those three things together. And it's been so fun. It's been a whirlwind. I feel like I am in with the professor with John Lee every day, learning from him, but it's been really fun. I'm loving it.
That's incredible. It's funny because like you haven't been at Anewgo for that long, but in my mind, I'm like, you've always been there. You're just such a natural part of the team there. And so it's funny, but I can't imagine, like, John Lee is so smart. Like, you must just be getting like so much input all the time.
Oh, yeah, my brain is tired some days. And there'll be points I think he knows while we're talking on Slack. We may not have the video on, but I'm sort of glazing over and I've reached the max that I can absorb for a day. But he's so patient with me.
That's awesome. You guys have a really good team over there. I love what you guys do. And I'm excited to hear how that transition from being with a builder to being with a tech company, that's quite a difference. So that must have been a big adjustment for you.
It was a huge adjustment in some good ways and in some challenging ways. One of the things I decided from day one, and the reason I thought, let's talk about this today, was I didn't want to suddenly pretend that I was a tech expert in the industry, that just because I worked for Anewgo, that I knew everything there was to know about software and tech, because that wasn't true. I was learning. I knew what I had known as a customer. I had been a customer of Anewgo for 6 years, and I knew what I had learned from attending sales and marketing conferences and IBS and, all the things, webinars, reading the books, but I was by no means an expert. And so it's been a very intentional decision to figure out, how do I balance being a salesperson and needing to be educated on the product, but saying, this is new to me too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a vulnerable place to be because I feel like you want to be the expert. You're like, here, I'm going to talk about this and I should know everything. And it's difficult. I think it takes a lot of confidence to be like, I don't know everything, and that's okay. So it's more than just authenticity. It's also that like layer of confidence, I think, that you hold really well.
Thank you. You know, I remembered with all the new salespeople that I trained and brought in over the years, they had this window at the beginning of their time where they were really successful because they didn't know much. And for
Mm.
the salespeople that were willing to just say that to the customer and go with it, there was almost an advantage to being brand new. And so I said, okay, I'm going to take that, I'm going to leverage that in my industry. I'm going to admit what I don't know, promise to get back to somebody with answers. And customers, whether it's a home buyer or a home builder who is your customer, they reward that when you're just real with them and say, I don't know, good question.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think people in general, buyers, our teams, just anybody that we interact with, they really want like realness. They
Yeah.
want like honesty. They want to know who you are. And people can sniff out when you're like putting on a show or you're like BSing it. And it's like they don't trust it. And especially people that have really high meters for that, it's like you're gonna lose that trust really fast. It's hard to get that back. So I think it's definitely is benefits to being real and just being authentic with people, but it's just not always easy. And sometimes the default is to sort of, I don't want to feel stupid, so I'm going to cover this up.
And that's a daily decision. You know, I
Yeah.
have to constantly remind myself, be real. It's okay. You don't have to know it all.
It takes constant reminders. So, how do you feel like, because you've led a lot of people and you have a pretty big team over there at Anewgo as well. How do you feel like having this mindset has changed you as a leader?
Yeah. I think it changes the way that you think about yourself. It's not that I'm the one in charge that has to know everything. I don't. I can rely on my team. So it's sort of taking the ego out of it. And then when you're demonstrating that for the team, it gives them freedom to say, okay, it's all right if I don't know it all. Just sort of takes everybody's defenses down. And it says, okay, we're going to focus on the goal of the team here and not making myself look good.
Yeah. It opens up the line of communication. Like, so
Yeah.
when your team members are also like, oh, I don't know, like everyone feels more comfortable.
Yeah. It's a safe space. This is not a place where we have to pretend that we've got it all figured out.
That has to feel so good. There's so many just toxic work environments, out there, and everybody has a story about just a terrible place that they worked. So being able to provide that for your team, I feel like it feels good for us, but I know that it means a lot to, your team as well, because that's just not something that you find everywhere.
True. I'm fortunate to have it at Anewgo again.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're lucky when you find it multiple times. You're
Yeah.
like, I've found a unicorn 2 times. That's amazing.
And you know, I think part of it is be the person that leads that. You know, I'm the new one, and going to the team and just not being embarrassed to ask a lot of questions. I think as a new person to a team, sometimes it would be easy to be shy and to not ask because you don't want to look silly. But just saying, hey, I know this might seem like a basic question, but can you help me with this? It encourages other people to let their guards down as well. So you can lead up and down at the same time, depending on your role.
Oh, for sure. I think, we get into our heads about this is my position and I just have to accept the way that things are or like what the culture is. But that the culture of a company is everyone that's there, no matter what their title is. So you really can cause a lot of change in your environment just by, modeling what you'd like to see.
Absolutely.
I always want to remind everyone of that because it's easy to get in your head about it. But when you're coming in as a leader, I think it's even more easy because you're like, I'm here to lead everyone. And, if I don't know everything, like, how are you going to trust me? Like, how are you going to take my leadership? That initial few days or few weeks has to be like probably the hardest part.
Yeah, it's a tough balance to strike because you do want to create an appropriate authority,
Yeah.
and to establish your role and balancing that with being authentic and transparent. It's a tension. And, I think that the hardest things are those that have that pull in two different directions. And yet, that's what, if you can find that healthy balance between two, that's the sweet spot.
Yes. It's so funny. Balance, that word has come up so much to me. And I actually picked that word at the beginning of 2025. I was like, this is my word of the year, and that's what I'm working on. And I cannot tell you, it's every day, multiple times.
Yeah.
So you just have to have the balance.
Yeah.
When I find it, I'll let you know.
It's funny you say that because the very first year I ever spoke at IBS was the year that we found out we were having to go remote. And so I did a pre-recorded talk, which was nice because it wasn't so scary as having to stand up on the stage. But what I remember most from that was balance was one of the things I talked about. And I had this slide that was a picture of an old like schoolyard seesaw. And I said, balance is a seesaw. We have in our mind this idea that it's like having to be perfect level all the time. No, sometimes in one season, one side needs more weight, and sometimes in another season, a different side needs more weight. So it's yo-yoing. And to what we were just saying, sometimes you have to lean into the authority side of your role. Sometimes you need to lean into the transparency side. And it doesn't mean that they all have to be on this level playing field all the time.
No, that's really good. That's a really good insight and a good picture too, because it's hard to be like balance means that it's the same. Like you're the same. So that's a good mindset shift to have. So I want to take our conversation and like split it because I want to talk about sales and then I want to talk about marketing. And this is a marketing podcast, but I feel like a lot of people have that sales and marketing overlap, or, sales leaders also listen in, which I love all of them as well. So I want to talk about what this kind of looks like, this authenticity mindset looks like for, sales leaders, OSCs, anybody that's in that role as like the first line of defense with our buyers.
Yeah, a lot of it ties into what we were just talking about in terms of leadership, modeling this. I think in sales, customers, you used the term earlier, sniff out very quickly whether a salesperson is being real with them. They know if you're listening, they know if you're on script, or if you're just in the moment with them and communicating your product, but in a way that's relevant to them. And so I think when the leader is modeling authenticity, and encouraging the team to do that with the customers, the company and the customers both win, because people trust people who are real with them. And, I try to continue to do that in my role. Sometimes I'll say, this isn't the right fit for you. And here's why. People would rather you just tell them that than try to sell them something that they don't need or isn't the right fit for them. You gain so much more by being honest with someone than just selling.
I think people, when they go into a situation where they know that someone is trying to sell them something, they put up their guard. And I feel like it's from the car salesman, and that's the stereotype, but it's true. Like I went in to buy a car one time and I told the guy, I was like, I don't like this interior color. Don't show me anything with this interior color. I hate it. And every single car that he showed me had it. And I was like, are you not listening? What's going on? And he tried to talk me out of it. He's like, it's just a color. Like what? Who cares? And he literally said that to me. It's like, it's just a color. Like you need to think about more things. And I was so frustrated. I was so invalidated. And I was like, I don't like it. And you're asking me to spend all this money. And so I feel like everybody has had like situations like that. So when they go in, they're like, oh, they just want my money.
Yeah.
Like I'm turning off. Like that's
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So how do you feel like leaders can coach this into their team?
One of the things that we need to do is talk about it and encourage us to call each other out on it. Create some kind of code. If you see another one of your team members being fake, find a way to discreetly tell them that, make them more aware, and make it okay. Just say, this is something we're doing to serve each other. We're not trying to get each other. This is not hey, I caught you doing something bad. I'm trying to help you because this is going to help you sell better. So creating that culture where we've got each other's backs. Because sometimes we have blind spots. We don't realize we're falling into a sales script or we're getting that commission breath. But if that salesperson that's working with us, that is overhearing our conversation, can later say, hey, when you said this to the customer, it came across in this way. That will really benefit the team in the long run to have that sort of helping each other mentality.
Yeah. And I think anybody in those situations and on those teams really needs to be open to it too. Open your mind, get on the idea that like this is to help you. And I think most sales leaders and salespeople are because, they want to do a better job. They want to sell homes. So,
Right.
anything they can do to do that is the better.
Yeah, and I think like you, everybody's had a bad experience somewhere. So if
Mhm.
you can relate that, have them tell their story of when they felt like somebody was being salesy to them in a way that they didn't appreciate, then they'll go, oh yeah, I get it. I don't want to be like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And most people, they really do want to. It's just like the pressure of, I have to sell this many homes this month. And so that really is tough because you have to remember, yes, that is the goal, but we don't want to sell to people who don't want it.
That's right. It's really changing the mindset of we think that's how we're going to sell more homes, but it's not.
Yeah.
You will sell more homes with authenticity and trust because it's a long game. I think sometimes we think of it as just a short, I've got to just get what I need right now. But in the long run, and this is something I've really worked in my career to think about sales as a really long game. You're earning that trust, which becomes referrals, which builds your network. And that's where a really successful salesperson is not just relying on the traffic that walks in their door that day or the appointment the OFC set for them that day, but they've got this whole big network of people that is bringing them business because
Mhm.
it's been earned over time.
No, that's such a good point. And when your whole team is on the same page too, that's going to be a lot easier because like from your OSC to the hand off to the on-site salesperson, like they get the same experience.
Yeah, that's right. For OSCs, be real. Don't set up your salesperson for a bad appointment because you weren't real with the customer and didn't say, you know what, this isn't a good fit for you. That's your sales team's going to be frustrated. You're not helping them out. The customer's going to be frustrated because they show up to the appointment and we can't really help them. That's maybe a unique little use case, but OSCs, I think, have a tremendous opportunity to really be authentic with the customer on the phone call.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of like scripts and things that sales leaders will use or like we use in training to try to help people get to know how to sell and the proper techniques to use and things like that. But I know some people, they get really caught up in those scripts and they just say the same thing every time. So how would you navigate that? Do you believe in scripts? Do you think we should not use them? Or what's your take?
Yeah, good questions. My dear friend Roland, who was one of the first people that trained me, he used to say, planned, not canned. And that's always stuck with me. So we have a plan. We know where we want to take this sales process, but we don't have a word by word, here's what we're going to say. And I think it's mostly about listening. Jeff Shore really teaches this to his clients. When we're listening, we're responding, we're not just giving them a script. So many times in all of life, not just in sales, it's like we're listening to just have our turn to say what we want to say.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that. Like I do it all the time. I have to work on that. But in the sales process, if we're listening and absorbing and then responding, it's really hard to stay on a script.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not against them completely in terms of knowing where you need to go. And sometimes you're just stuck and you're not sure what to say next. And so having a few things in your head that you can jump back to move the conversation forward, some well-practiced questions for really good discovery, those can be helpful to draw from when you just hit a dead end in the sales process. But they should be your, I'm stuck, I need some help, not your go-to.
Yeah. I remember I'm not a salesperson, but I do sales for share drive sometimes. And I remember trying to figure that part out because I'm like, I want to get good information from them so that I can make sure that this is a good solution and all those things. So I have a few questions. I actually have them written down because my memory is terrible, but they like right here on my laptop. But I'm like, they just start that conversation. It gives people a chance to actually explain a little bit more. So there is something to respond to.
Yeah, that's something I've had to do in a new role. While the principles of sales are the same, I've had to learn to ask totally different questions. I'm selling something very different from home now. And so I have my own go-tos that when I'm stuck, I'll ask this. And it's usually a thoughtful question. It's important too. Don't ask dumb, basic yes, no questions. Come
Yeah.
up with thoughtful questions that will make them open up and share with you more.
Yeah, that's true. Don't ask stupid questions.
Don't
I
ask
love that.
stupid questions. Nobody has time for those.
No. Okay, so let's switch over to marketing now.
Okay.
A lot of marketers have this at the top of their minds. I want to show authenticity. I want to show the culture of the company. And there's so many goals of what you're trying to portray when you're doing messaging or marketing. So what are your go-to tips on how builders can make their marketing feel more authentic?
So it's been really interesting getting now to watch hundreds of builders across the country in a different way than I can before. And I'll tell you, there are just some that stand out because they have personality and their brand voice is unique. And on the other hand, I see over and over, we build quality homes. We're the best builder in XYZ city. Just generic, vague. And while those things are true and they're good things, they just are like white noise. And the builders who have figured out how to have a little bit of uniqueness, and here's what's different about them. So jumping back to the design world, there's someone on Instagram, I can't even think of her name, but I've recently seen her several times. I've been enjoying following her, and she talks about how you need to have more weird things in your house. How unique things like just funky little accessories make your home unique and like you, and it doesn't look like you just bought everything at Target, although I like Target and they have good stuff. Like there should be unique things that are quirky and have personality. And I think the same principle applies to a builder. While you want to be professional, find ways to have something that only your company would say this or have this, or, and it's going to be so different. It's hard to give examples
Mhm.
specifically, but just really dig deep into that and try not to fall back into the generic, boring, bland terms.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely have seen those same taglines. And it's
Yeah,
not just even
yeah,
in home building too. Like everybody's the number one solution for
yeah,
blank.
yeah.
It's like, on. I know you're not all number one.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I think there are a lot of opportunities though to do this, whether it's in your messaging or in your photos or even like in the design of your homes, like how you decorate your models. I worked with a builder a few years ago and they had one of their models. It was very quirky. They had like cool art in there and it was like each model, they had several different ones, had a different theme to it. But it made them so memorable because everyone would walk in, they're like, oh wow. And it was a risk. It was for
Yeah.
sure was a risk because not everyone would have decorated the house that way, but I definitely made them stand out.
Yeah, back in the days when I was doing the model homes, I would always try to find one thing that I could put in that was memorable. So it would be, oh, that was the house with the green bedroom, or that was the house that had the blue island, or, and there's lots of blue islands, so that's a bad example, but you know what I mean? I tried to
Yeah.
find one thing that they would refer to it as the house with the, and it would stick out. The other thing I did was I had a lot of animals in our decor and artwork. That sounds funny, but I would give kids a mission when they came in to count how many different animals they could find in the house. And it was a fun activity for the kids, but also somehow those brass goose statues just created a little bit of fun, unique interest. We had a life-size Dalmatian that would sit looking out the window, just like really unique things like that. People remember, and in a sea of sameness, when they're visiting a lot of different builders, your house will stand out.
And that's perfect thing to put on the website then too, because now you're
Yeah.
going to create that connection like, oh yeah, they're that builder with the Dalmatian in the window.
That's right. That's right. I think builders need to have more people too on their websites, like telling the story of their team, of their customers, showing the messy middle. Like we're so afraid to show job site pictures because they don't look all finished. But don't just do an ugly like front of the house with a muddy driveway. Show somebody laying the brick. You can like we had a photographer who was really good at capturing people, and she got some amazing pictures of the brick mason laying brick or the countertop guys putting it in. Show the craftsmanship and the care of the people who are working in your home. And that just creates such warm and fuzzies for the people who are looking at your website.
If anybody takes anything from this episode, I would feel like do that, because that's just gold content. And so many builders are missing that. It's such an opportunity for so many builders. And it takes some effort. You know, you got to go out, you got to get to know all of your subcontractors. Like you have to do some extra work, but you're going to immediately stand out like
Yeah.
from everybody else.
Absolutely. That ties back to the authenticity, right? It's going to be obvious if it's fake and just a marketing shoot.
Yeah.
Like I remember we caught some pictures of interaction with supervisor and the trade, and you could tell they talked all the time. They knew each other. There was just genuine laughter between them that you cannot fake that in a hi handshake marketing picture. Somebody knows the difference between that, the stock art looking stuff. But authenticity means you're the same in whatever room you show up in. I think that's an important thing to remember. And so marketing needs to remember, okay, we're showing up in a lot of places. We're on our website, we're on Zillow, we're on Facebook, we're meeting buyers out in the model homes. Wherever we are, how do we be the same company in all of those places? And so that has to be spread across. And so coming out and doing a photo shoot like that means you actually have to know your trades and like them and talk to them on a daily basis. And you've got to have those relationships established.
Yeah. It really, you have to make connection and authenticity like the core values of your
Yeah.
company. And you
Yeah.
have to just, everybody has to be working towards that same goal, no
Mhm.
matter what their role is.
Yeah, exactly.
I think those pictures as well, trying to get your buyers and like their excitement. I love we just got our keys photo and they have a little sign, or we just closed. Oh my gosh, like those every time. I'm just so excited when I see builders posting those, because that is the most exciting moment of that home buyer experience. Everyone's happy, and like it gives every buyer after that same excitement. I want that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll share another fun one that I used to do with you. We would do holiday decorating contests for our homeowners, and we would ask them to share on social media pictures of their front porch or maybe their home decorated for Halloween or for Christmas. And their pictures did not look decorated the way we would ever want to decorate a model home typically. But it was that realness, that rawness of their pictures that created so much more believability and authenticity than if we had just staged the model home and taken pictures, which we did too. At the holidays, we put up the tree. But just seeing a bunch of different families who were proud to show off their home with their tree or their Christmas lights, you can't replicate that.
Oh, let's meet your neighbors. This is what
Yeah.
you can expect as well. Like when you
Yeah.
move into this community, that's golden. And it also shows that builder has a relationship with their buyers after the fact. Like if those buyers were not happy, they are not going to be sending them pictures of their decorated house.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. Since I've spent a year with John Lee, I can't be on a podcast without talking about AI. But I think what's interesting, what I love that I'm learning about AI is really rewarding these same things. AI is rewarding intent and
Yeah.
authenticity. And I love that I feel like it's going to flush out some of the keyword stuffing and the fakeness of marketing that's been happening in the last decade, because it's okay, what's the real intent? What's this page really about? What's the buyer really looking for? And so it's an interesting tension again, because people are sometimes afraid of AI and technology and what's happening. But if anything, it's better for the buyer. It's about what's real. It's about creating really good content. It's not about creating all this fake AI generated stuff. It's about what has meat and substance and is important and people care about it. That's what's going to matter. And I wrote down these words from an article I was reading: useful, trustworthy, and interesting. Those three things are what are going to be seen as more valuable on your website to AI.
Yeah. AI is like a bloodhound. It's just there to get the answer for the person
Mhm.
that needs it. And like for the buyer, I'm so excited because I hate like going to 10 different websites and not finding what I was
Mhm.
looking for. And Google thought, oh, it has one keyword, or whatever that
Mhm.
matches, you'll find it there. So it's going to make such a better customer experience, I think, for our buyers. but it is something I feel like that marketers need to be thinking about in order to make that possible.
That's right. They need to be focusing on creating high value content that's authentic to their brand, that's real, that's unique. That's another reason to not be in that sea of sameness.
Yeah.
You're going to just disappear for AI and for Google search. You're fighting for a search when you're using those generic terms. But when you are really like, here's our niche, here's what we do, here's what's unique, and you're telling that in a digestible story, that's where you're really going to stand out.
Yeah. Now, we say that, are you talking like blogs? Are you talking, descriptions, or what type of content is really going to help marketers do that?
All of it. So going back to being the same in every room,
Yeah.
you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You've got to really have a website that's built out with a lot of good content, blogs. All of your pages need to have good copy that's explaining here's what we do for human eyes and for the bot eyes. But then you also need to show up that same way on social media and on third-party sites and in all the places that you live out there. That message needs to be consistently validated in many different places.
What do you think are builders like biggest where they're missing the mark the most, or like biggest opportunities for that?
Oh boy. I think it is lack of deep content on their websites. A lot of
Mhm.
it's very surfacey. Like we've got all the product info and that's good, but like detailed information, like great FAQ pages. And not the basics, but ask your sales team, what are customers really asking? What do they want to know? Don't just take them through a basic 4 steps that first you pick a house, then you pick a plan. Tell them more about what does that mean? What are the steps going to be? How does that work? Once they're further down the buying process, that's the stuff they want to binge on. And that's the step that's going to make you a trusted authority to the bots because you've got rich information about here are next steps, here's how this works. Or maybe it's on the product side. Maybe you're a builder that's really focused on we build a better product. Put tons of good information on there that's explaining why is this product better and what's so unique about the way we build our home.
Yeah. So like in a hypothetical situation, like someone goes to ChatGPT or wherever they're searching AI and they're like, what is the process to build a home, right? They're going to ask these questions. So hypothetically, if you have that great information on your website, like your website would then be the link that it pulls up and like pulls that information from and could like then bring someone to you. Am I thinking about that accurately?
It would be a challenge, honestly, for a question that broad for
Yeah.
most smaller builders to show up, but that's the overall idea. So probably when they're a little more narrowed down on location, then you're more likely to show up. And that's, so I don't want to promise that suddenly you're going to just show up for a big search. But yeah, that is it. Having the really good detailed information means that you're going to be seen as an authority and you're going to be more visible when they're looking for that.
Yeah. That's really good information. And I know a lot of builders are thinking about AI and they're like, I don't know what to do. And
Yeah.
everything's changing and there's so much change can feel paralyzing. So having that like guide, here's what you need to
Yeah.
get to just get that foundation going is so helpful, I think.
Yeah.
So thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Let's talk about any other practical takeaways that you feel like people from this episode, if you could just tell them these things to go and try to add authenticity, to add realness, to help with AI, whatever it is, what would those be?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. I think it's a daily commitment that you have to make to yourself.
Hmm.
You have to figure out, am I showing up wherever I am at this moment the way that I want to show up? And is it the same whether I'm with my kids or at work or on a podcast or at a conference? Am I being the most real version of me in this moment? And deciding it's okay to not always be polished. Now, there's a place, we're in marketing. We love pretty pictures. Just make it pretty,
Yeah.
right? But there's a place to just be real and not have to do that. And so it's more about mindset than here's a 1, 2, 3 step process to making this happen. And I think if you feel like you're struggling with it, challenge the people who are closest to you. Say, I'm trying to work on this. Can you help me? When you see me being fake, like just tell me later so that I'm more aware of what's going on.
I saw what you just said made me think of, I saw an article about home pictures a while back, and they were talking about how like home builders were intentionally like leaving laundry or a blanket on the floor or have kids' toys out or something. And it just made it feel so much more real and so much more actually homey. And it still was very clean. Like when my kids leave toys out, it did not look like that, but it still had the idea was there. And I absolutely love that. And I love to challenge people's thinking on like, it doesn't all have to be just absolutely perfect. Like people are going to live here and that's not how it's going to look.
Yeah, exactly. I like to share on Instagram a lot, but I've made a very conscious decision. I'm not going to try to make my posts look like a professional influencer. That's not who I am. I'm just
Yeah.
sharing because I had something fun, a new recipe that I tried that I'm happy with. And so, why am I worrying about adding all these filters or getting my lighting just perfect? That's not real. That's faking here. Let's just show you in the moment exactly what's going on and not care whether it looks like a perfect profile grid should look.
Yeah. So for other leaders, what would be your advice for them? Do you have any like practices or like mantras or something that you tell yourself to keep yourself grounded in this core value?
Oh boy, that's a tough one.
I like tough
You
questions at the
might,
end of the
you
episode. I
might
should have
have
warned you.
stumped me with that one. I think you have to make a really deep commitment to who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? And then you have to find what works for you. This is maybe why it goes back to there's not a formula. You know, I have little notes for myself are places that I can see every day that are reminding me of the things that I need to maybe pull back on that balance scale. Okay, if you're tempted to get out of whack, here's what's gonna, so it's gonna be unique for every person. And what you've got to do is identify like where am I struggling? And then how can I create simple reminders for myself in my daily life that'll just pull me back. So when I'm on a call, like this is in my line of sight, and I'm reminded to kind of, ooh, I need to adjust a little bit here. And that's going to be different for everybody. So I don't know, that's not a great answer because I'm not telling you exactly what to do, but I think that's why this can be hard because it's not just an easy thing that has a simple solution that fits on its own.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your honesty and authenticity in that because if we're telling people like, oh, you just have to do this one thing and that's not gonna work, that's not very helpful either. I love that though. I also do the same thing. I have like little reminders. Like I actually have a picture that I made that's right behind my computer here, but it has like Sarah's core values on it. And it's so when I'm like doing things or trying to make a hard decision or something, it's am I thinking about these things? And I think that's a really good exercise for any leader to do is what are my core values? Forget your company, forget everything else. Like what matters to me?
I love that. I might steal that one. That's great.
Right. But okay. I want to give you a chance to talk about where people can connect with you, talk about Anewgo, where they can reach out to you for any information on that. And just, yeah, how can people talk to you, Beth?
I would love to connect with anyone. I love to chat, maybe too much. So reach out to me anytime. You can find me on LinkedIn if you want to talk about work stuff. I like to share random thoughts about sales and marketing there. The other day I was complaining about double sinks. So there's a teaser for the random kind of stuff that I like to talk about. If you want to talk about gardening and cooking and decorating, you can find me on Instagram. And anewgo.com is our website. On that website, there is a link to my calendar. So if you wanted to just brainstorm about sales and marketing, feel free to just grab a time. You don't have to ask me first. I'd love to visit with anyone.
That's awesome. Yes, definitely go over there. I will try to put all the links for all of those things in the description box as well. And yeah, anything else? I'll give you the last word before I do my little sign off.
Oh boy, I'm just so excited to have this time to talk. Thank you so much for having me on here. I love that you are focusing on maybe the less obvious but more important aspects of marketing. You're doing a really good job of that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for coming. I feel like you're such a breath of fresh air. I just really being around you and having these conversations. So thank you for being here. And I hope all of our listeners feel that as well. Definitely go to the YouTube version of this if you're on the audio because the vibes are good.
Thanks, Sarah.
All right, everyone. Thank you for listening today. We will be back next week with another episode. You can follow, do all the internet things. It really helps us out. And go check out Beth and Anewgo. They're doing some great things over there, and I'm really excited for you guys to check them out. We will see you in our next episode next week. And until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Okay.